Welcome to the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by legendary boxing trainer and newest UFC aficionado, the great Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
Good. Don't go too far. I don't know about aficionado, but I'm intrigued by the sport and the honor that and class that these guys show in that octagon, the toughness, the code that they live by, the loyalty and the allegiance of the fans. It's all very impressive, and I'm glad to be able to talk about the sport. I'm no aficionado, but I know fighting. That's what I know, and I know the parallels of fighting, and I know what good fighting is versus less than good fighting, and I appreciate all the things that are consistent in both sports, that are paralleled in both sports, that are needed in both sports. The mentality, the need for good technique, uh, the the drive, the ability to overcome, to go to new places, to put light into caves where there used to be no light, to show people that you can go further than you ever thought you could go. That there should be no ceiling, no roof on what we do. The roof is put there by others. It shouldn't be put there by us. That's UFC. That's top fighters. And that's stuff that, whether it's with a few kicks added in or with just punches, I appreciate it.
Hey guys, before we jump into things, I just want to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor, Crossrope. Check them out at crossropes.com. These days, we're all looking for fun ways to stay fit while spending more time at home. Cardio machines are obviously expensive. If you've tried to buy any gym equipment, you know that pretty much everything is sold out or it's outrageously expensive. The new Crossrope is a super inexpensive way to get an awesome workout, depending on whatever your fitness goals are, whether you're looking for endurance or strength workout. Personally, I like to use this thing in the evening after I do my cardio in the morning by running or biking. I love the weighted rope for the added strength benefit, so you get a little bit of cardio, but a lot of strength if you're using the weighted rope. I can't say enough good things about these guys. I burn a ton of calories in the evening. It gets me, as you start to get maybe a little tired in the afternoon, I hit this thing for half an hour. It's awesome. You download the free Crossrope app, link up the app and the jump rope, and off you go. Again, love this workout. Super fun. Easy to travel with. I take it with me when I travel. Haven't been doing much travel lately, but just came back from 2 weeks in New York. Once again, check them out at crossrope.com/atlas, ATLAS. Get $40 off your first Crossrope set plus free shipping when you check out using crossrope.com/atlas. Again, ATLAS. That's crossrope.com/atlas. Check them out. Yeah, so we had a big UFC event this Saturday night. Main event, Robert Whittaker against Darren Till. I know you've had a chance to look at it, and you took about 35 pages of notes. So why don't we jump right in? I mean, this was an incredible battle, back and forth. Fight could have easily gone either way. Whittaker was a slight favorite, minus 120 coming into the fight, and man, these guys brought it. They beat the crap out of each other for 5 rounds. One of the most technical fights you'll see, at least in terms of on the feet in the UFC. And Whittaker eventually gets the win. Two judges had it 48-47, and one guy had it for Till 48-47. But curious to hear what your thoughts were. There was a lot to take in with this one.
Yeah, first of all, I thought it was a chess match, a rugged chess match, by the way. Usually you can sit back and maybe, sip a little espresso when you play chess outdoors in a park. You can't do that when you play this kind of chess. I thought Till won the first round. I thought that Whittaker turned it around, won the second, probably the third. The fourth round I thought was very close. Could have went either way, and I thought the fifth round closed the show, where Whittaker won the fifth. So Till's a southpaw, and he's tall and he's long. So you're supposed to fight, you know, you're supposed to fight the same way as you do. I got this computer. I got a fancy setup here now, guys. I don't shine shoes no more. I got this fancy setup now. Rob set me up. He went out, got me a computer. I mean, I got a thing looking at me with an eye. I mean, I see Ken and his, handsome self with his good, conditioning from all that running. But I see things going in and out over here on my computer, Dropbox. I hope that's not a problem.
Looks good on this end.
That's good. But Till's a southpaw, tall, rangy. You got to know how to fight tall. Same as boxing, no different if you're going to do striking. And he did. The first round, he was the ocean, trying to make Whittaker, the former champion, the log a little bit, keeping him off rhythm, controlling the rhythm. The ocean controls the rhythm. The ocean controls the log. Pushes you out when he wants to push out, brings you in when it wants to bring you in. And for the most part, Whittaker was doing that. He was able to score well. Again, geometry, baby. It's about who gets the better of the geometry in the ring that they need for their physical assets. Obviously, I think I set it up enough. Till needed the outside for his physical assets. And he got that in the first round. Being able to look to counter when Whittaker was coming in, the shorter man, and then looking to push him back in spots. And then the second round came and the champion made adjustments, baby. See, that's the same as any sport. I mean, Bill Belichick, what makes him so good? You beat him the first half, you don't beat him the second half. He makes adjustments. They look at film. They change what has to be changed in the locker room. Well, you don't have a locker room. You got 1 minute in between rounds, same as boxing. And with all that experience, they talk about how important experience is. It's important, Ken, if you use it. Whittaker used it. In the second round, he changed things. He mixed it up. He had a dimension that I think at the end of the day probably helped him in a very close fight, where he was a little bit more versatile. He had the ground game. He was able to bring him to the ground, where the other guy, Till, really didn't have that aspect of the game. He had the ground game where even if he didn't use it, the threat of using it, he used it twice, if my memory serves me correct. He took him to the ground twice. Second round where he turned it around, and the last round where he closed the show, which I thought was the round that closed it for him. But the threat of it was maybe able to keep Till a little bit off balance, a little bit leery. That's a big deal. That's a big deal, just having that weapon, even if you don't use it all the time. So I think that played into it a little bit. And in the second round, he made the adjustments. He wasn't as predictable. He was awkwardly clever, as I used to say on ESPN when I was calling the fights there all the time. He was just, it didn't look like he was doing nothing, but a little feint here, a little walk over here, and then all of a sudden come in. Just enough where Till couldn't zero in on him, where he could get in clean, where he could walk through the rain without getting wet. Write that one down, Ken. Walk through the rain without getting wet. And so he was able to score a knockdown in the second round, get him on the floor, if my memory is right, do a little ground and pound. Again, get it to the geography that made sense for him. Tight. I appreciate boxing, striking, whatever the freak you want to call it when it's done the right way. And I appreciate it because I know what it is. I know what it takes. It's not just happening. It's happening because that guy's doing something to make it happen. There's a subtle something going on. Now, I will tell you what probably might have played into it. These guys don't make excuses, but there was a knee kick in the second round that they talked about a little bit after.
I was going to ask you about that and what kind of effect you think that had on Till's footwork immediately proceeding that.
You know, Ken, that's interesting. This is what I'm going to tell you. Put that aside. This is what I noticed. After the second round, the third round was, again, I thought Whittaker did a little more. He controlled the rhythm, the energy of the fight. But here's what, it wasn't so much what either guy was doing. It became, to me, what one guy wasn't doing. That Till was no longer moving his hands enough to make the other guy pay when he missed. He was still making him miss in spots, controlling range, going back and forth, where he was able to, even with malfunctioning knee, we guess, he was still, it's kind of like in football. You got a bad leg or bad ankle, you can still go backward and forward. You just can't do anything else. You're restricted. And it seemed like he could go backward and forward. But then when it came to putting weight on it, maybe he couldn't punch. I don't know. Making no excuses. Taking nothing away from anybody. These guys don't deserve that. But because they overcome it, they find a way. And you deal with it. It's part of the business. But that might have been, all I know is what I saw. Knowing nothing about the knee, I started saying to myself, wait a minute. Till's not moving his hands enough. He's not making him pay when he makes things. He's still making him miss. He's still making Whittaker jump in spots, reaching in spots, get fat. Fat means this, wide in spots, but he's not putting the jelly with the peanut butter, like I used to say on ESPN. He's not doing as Cuss would say. You make him miss, make him pay, do the fun part. You did the hard part, do the fun part. Hit the guy. And he wasn't doing enough for that. He was making him miss, going out, making him fall short in spots, but he wasn't getting the punches off after he made him miss. And so maybe that was partly with the knee, maybe. But it was there for me. I thought that was the difference in the fight, to be quite honest with you. And again, credit to Whittaker, but in spots, Whittaker does get a little sloppy. He does get a little, crazy with those wide punches. And when he did, he got away with it. I thought that was the difference in the fight. I thought the right guy under the circumstances won. Thought it was close. And I get it. You think either way. But that's pretty much, and you're right, I do take notes because these fans deserve, I think, if they're going to take the time to listen to us, they deserve to hear what is out there to be heard from an accurate viewpoint. That doesn't mean I'm right, but at least that I did my work, that they're listening to somebody who took it serious, who did their due diligence, who cares about, these people's time, that they're going to listen to this damn thing. So, and your time, the time that you're taking to be here with us and to do this together as a team, as a partner. And park your, Maseratis and your Lamborghinis and say, nope, I'm not taking a ride today. I'm gonna be with Teddy doing this, talking to these good people. So that's what I saw. And then of course, in the fifth round, you wanna finish well, and especially in a tight fight. And he was able to score that knockdown, which I think was pivotal, probably pivotal in that fight, to takedown, I should say, where he was able to do that. And to the credit of Till, I'm talking about 2 takedowns, I think, if I remember correctly, in a fight. But I got to give credit to Till that he was able to get up so, for the most part, quickly, pretty damn quickly in the fight, that he was able to get back up to his feet. I mean, that's not an easy thing to be doing. And he showed the expertise, the ability to do that. By the way, this proves to people that I am a caveman. I am prehistoric. That's a fax machine you get, okay? That's a fact. Yeah, you people thought that Teddy just says that, Ken just says that, Rob just says that. He's got a fax. Nobody's got a fax machine. I got a fax machine, okay? And now you heard it. Now you know it. But I don't have an email, but I have a fax
That
machine.
fax machine replaced a Morse code device, right?
No, there was other things. There was smoke signals. We went through other things. Come on. I mean, Ken. So, again, I think that Till, from the judging standpoint, I don't know how they look at that, ring generalship, whatever, with the MMA, that I know you get taken down. That's obviously got to favor. It favors the guy taking the guy down. But then the ability to get up, he really showed me something with that ability to get up, Till, and on a bad leg. And the funny thing is, when he got up, I watched him because I want to always learn. And I watched the way he got up, and he put all his power to get up on the right leg, or maybe I should say the left leg. And not the right leg, the back leg, the leg that probably was not injured because it was the front leg, being a southpaw, was the right leg that was damaged. But you tell me, but that's the way I saw it.
No, I agree with you 100%. And one of the biggest takeaways for me was the show of sportsmanship and class by these guys. Like, total respect for each other after the fight, in the build-up to the fight. It was just all business. And after the fight they were both, like, I think in a post-fight interview, Till said at one point, I think we both won tonight. And I think he's right. And that's one of the things that I admire about the UFC is you can have losses there and people still want to see you just as bad the next day. Look at Jorge Masvidal, had a series of losses. He's come back on a winning streak, and now he's like the new pay-per-view darling. Till can have losses. I mean, he got starched by Masvidal, came back and beat Kelvin Gastelum, and then got this huge main event fight against Robert Whittaker, the recently dethroned champion. But through all that, I say it emphasizes for me how far ahead, in my opinion, Israel Adesanya is. I mean, he gave Whittaker a pretty good beating, and Whittaker, aside from Adesanya, looks to be the best in the division. That's just my take. But
you know what Whittaker reminded me a little bit of? I'm going to make a comparison from boxing a little bit. Listen, a very, very rough comparison, not anything that really is truly, equal or anything like that. But the way he was approaching it, coming in, charging in spots, a little bit like Pacquiao, where Pacquiao will get in there fast and take risk. Pacquiao will take a risk getting in. The risk is worth the reward for him. And he was quick, and he would get away with it. And he would run red lights. He was like a kid with a sports car. Like you. Only different, you have the roof down, the hair going back. and he's got the sports car, but he's a little young. And when he's young, he's a little reckless, and he runs some red lights, and he gets away with it. Pacquiao was kind of like that guy. And then you get older, you get a little more seasoned, you pay more attention. And it was a little bit like that, where he was charging in a little bit. But as I said earlier, that Till wasn't making him pay. He didn't do what Marquez did. That one time, that one time. And I want Rob to get this up. He'll get it up. He'll get this, because this is a knockout of knockouts. This is one of the great knockouts of all time. Has to be. Where in the fourth time they met, whatever it was, they Pacquiao and Marquez, where Marquez used to experience. He started to take a step out. He stopped. He invited Pacquiao to run a red light. He ran the red light. Oh, but there was a truck coming. It was a right hand. He stepped back, invited Pacquiao and stopped. And then when Pacquiao ran the red light, bang! Nailed him, knocked him cold. We'll probably get it up for you. That's kind of the stuff that Till needed to do a little bit. If you want my expertise, from that standpoint, there's my man, Rob. He's right on top of it, as always. That's our man. And that's what was missing. That's the kind of stuff that was missing in the fight for Till, even though it was like I said, a very close fight. And to your point, and I not only concur, I said it I think on a couple of our last podcasts with the UFC, where the great thing and difference where they have it better with Dana White as one guy running it is it doesn't matter if you lose. Matter of fact, it helps you. You learn how to fight. You take fights that are risky and you're not afraid to take them, and you get better and you learn and you become a better fighter. In boxing, it's the opposite. Oh, I'm not taking that fight. No, I got to stay undefeated because I'm going to get a payday. All right, you stay undefeated, you get a payday, but then maybe you lose when you finally step up. And you would have been better served if you learned how to fight by taking the fights you needed early on to make you a better fighter. Boxing almost asks you not to become a better fighter in some ways, where it says, okay, stay undefeated, fight the kind of guys that are 70-30, 60-40 at best, your advantage to fight, and stay undefeated, get a payday, instead of taking the fights that the UFC guys take that you need to get better, that you need to become a better fighter. And then you get to where you need to get to, the best fighter you can be. That doesn't happen in boxing. It doesn't happen until you're forced to fight the fight, you lose, and then you go back to the back of the line, and then you just start fighting guys, and then sometimes you become a better fighter. And we've had guys in boxing that have done it that way. There was a day in boxing where it didn't matter. It didn't matter what your record was. All that mattered was how good you were, who you could handle, what level you could fight at. That's all that mattered. What kind of fights you made. That they could depend on you in there with any level fighter. You got a call. You got to fight. And that's the UFC, baby. That's the UFC. They put everyone in, the best in with the best. You don't worry about building up someone's record. If they lose, they come right back. They become a better fighter. And next thing you know, those guys who lose 2, 3, 4, may I dare say 5, 6, 7, 8, and they become a world champion because they learn how to fight. The only guys we ever really had in boxing recently that in the modern era that didn't, I said it once before, that really didn't matter if they lost sometimes was Tyson, because people just wanted to see him because of the craziness, because of the power, because, they didn't know what the frick maybe was going to happen. And Arturo Gatti, because he made fights that were like, I don't care, I just want to see him, because of the level of fight. Even Mickey Ward to a certain extent, and a few of those guys. And I've said it I'll repeat it to guys that didn't see the podcast. But on one of the last podcasts, go watch it if you didn't see it. I talked about guys like Kelvin Seabrooks, Buster Drayton, and I asked Rob to put up their records. Mike Weaver. Mike Weaver became heavyweight champ, had a whole bunch of losses. He learned how to fight by being put in with those kind of guys. Kelvin Seabrooks had all kinds of losses, became a world champion because he learned how to fight. Buster Drayton had a whole bunch of losses, became a world champion in junior middleweight. I'm going back to the 90s, 80s, whatever, because he learned how to fight in those fights. Best thing that ever happened to him was losing those fights, because that made him better, where he could win the ones that mattered. Anyway.
Well, interesting comparison you made there with Mike Tyson, because while the UFC seems to be putting on shows just as good, if not better than they were putting on before the pandemic, and I get all the all the advantages Dana has, but it doesn't change the fact that he's doing what he's doing. It doesn't matter why it's happening. The point is they're rolling, they're building their audience, and boxing seems to be at a dead standstill, if not moving completely in reverse. The fights that we've had have been complete mismatches if there are any fighters that we've wanted to see. There's been some good competitive fights, but for all intents and purposes, undercard fights that, no one really knows. We haven't seen any of the marquee names busy, but one of the names that is in action is, to get boxing back on the radar here, we've got Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. September 12th from Carson, California. I know you've already ordered it on pay-per-view, Teddy. Tyson, 54 years old, Roy Jones, 51. We saw Mike last time 15 years ago against Kevin McBride. Didn't really look that good. We've seen Roy knocked out cold a couple times when he was busy, and probably 10 or 15 years ago as well. I hesitate to say let's hear your thoughts because I think I know what they're going to be, but let me hear you.
Oh, you're going to hear me. Oh, you're going to hear me. You're going to hear me. Oh, you're going to hear me. Like my good friend and brother Stephen A. Smith would say, are you going to hear me? Oh, you're going to hear me. Listen. It's an exhibition, 8 rounds, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I never thought I'd be quoting this man. Great basketball player. Great. He really was. And a small guy, too. Not really a big guy, but great player, great offensive player. But to invoke the words of the great Allen Iverson, who played for the Philadelphia 76ers, I would just start by saying, practice, practice, practice. We're talking practice here. Now, come on, practice. We're talking practice here. Are we talking practice here?
Not about the game.
Practice. Practice. We're talking practice. You're the best. You're like Larry Brown, the coach. But practice. We're talking practice. Okay. All right. I had to get that out of the way. I feel a little bit better. We haven't heard from Allen Iverson. So I'm glad now we have. Look, Barnum and Bailey once said, the great, great promoter, there's a sucker born every minute. And if they can sell this thing on pay-per-view, and I guess they can, because they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't feel that they can. They floated a balloon. You float a weather balloon to see what the weather is. Really, right? I'm sure no one else is even talking about this. I could be wrong, but I'm going to say they floated that video that Tyson did with his trainer, right? Yep, exactly. And they floated it, and what happened? It went viral, whatever they call that stuff out there in your world. In that sophisticated world, right? It went viral, right? Something like that. It didn't come on a fax machine. I didn't get notice of it on my fax. That didn't happen.
You didn't see it on your Instagram feed?
No, I didn't. Nobody has notified me. But so they said, we got to do something with this. And so they're doing something. Listen, there's a reason why the Marvel comic movies keep coming back and they keep doing well. Spider-Man, Hulk, Fantastic Four, whoever they happen to be, whoever you like to like, the Black Panther, all these, and I love them all. I used to read comic books, and I had a big collection. I wish I still had it. I would have been able to make some money with the darn thing. I mean, I had them when they were 8 cents. I had all of them. I had all the series. Oh, I gave them away. But anyway, one of my mistakes, one of my couple mistakes in my life. So every time Marvel brings back these superheroes, these comic book heroes, they do well. People like it. People like to see, their heroes and like to see action. Well, people like to see Tyson, partly for that. They think they're going to see some kind of supernatural action. It's like seeing Captain America come back. It's like seeing, the Hulk come back. Spider-Man against Dr. Octopus, uh, against the Sandman or against the Green Goblin. There's an attraction to that. And I think they're using the same sort of method or same sort of thinking in this, that people, again, there's an allure. There's an allure to this. There's a pull, an attraction, even a morbid curiosity to when it comes to Tyson. I don't think that, I hope for the people out there, I think they want to see something, especially today. The timing's right with the COVID-19 going on. People are bored. People are trapped in their houses, and they want entertainment. And if there's no more Marvel comic movies coming out, and there's no movie theaters, of course there's Netflix, but you run out of it after a while. They're gonna buy this. They're right, because they want to be entertained, and they find Tyson entertaining. And whether he's 54 or whether he's 24, I guess it doesn't matter right now in their mind. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker, Ken. They might see all the things I just said, and I think I said it fairly, because I take care about saying things fairly and about saying things that maybe someone else might not say, but say what I believe and what I can back up with a reason, with evidence, with tangible stuff. And so I think saying that is reasonable. If they think, here's where it separates. If they think they're going to get the athlete, if they think they're going to get the fighter that they had back in the 80s, 90s, well, no, that's a little problem. That's where maybe Barnum and Bailey comes in and a sucker born every day. If you think you're going to get that. Because let me put my glasses on and show you. Let's zoom back, because Rob will back this up. Here's the real deal of what you're going to get, like Evander Holyfield might say, because he was the real deal. Tyson's record is 50-6. He's 54 years old. His last time in the ring, 15 years ago, I know we have selective memory. I get it. But I'm going to help you just a little bit. I'm going to help you out a little bit. The last time he was in a ring was 15 years ago. He was knocked out by Kevin McBride. It's one of your top fighters on your list, I think, right, Ken?
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm just saying.
Killer.
And I'm not knocking, listen, I'm not making fun of any fighter. I'm just saying he wasn't, it wasn't Joe Louis. But Kevin McBride showed up that night. He showed up that night, and he was ready to fight. And Tyson got knocked out. Actually, he quit.
That's right.
After being dropped. And a fight a year before that, he was knocked out by Danny Williams. That's enough. Tyson was knocked out in 3 of his last 4 fights. So 15 years ago. So what I'm saying is that if you're buying that, or you think you're buying some of that, hopefully you know you're not. That's all. Hopefully you know you're not. Because if you are, well, like that old saying goes, I might have a bridge available. It's a solid, well-built, really well-built bridge. It really is. And you can go across it and come back as many times as you want. Now, some people got nuts when they first heard. They'd see me in the street. Daddy, you think you could beat who? Who? Like in their minds, like the guys today. I said, you okay? You all right? You good? Watch the traffic. Be careful. Get back on the curb. You good? You all right? You all right? Because so he's not. He's fighting Roy Jones. And last I checked, Ken, again, it's not about the athleticism. As long as we understand this, or the competitiveness, As long as we understand this. Practice, we're talking about practice. So Roy Jones, the best I can remember, tremendous fighter. I like Roy. I like him as a person. But he was a great middleweight and light heavyweight. I mean, that's what he was. So now he's going to fight at 51 years of age as a heavyweight. I mean, I'll say it again. He was a middleweight and light heavyweight when he was at his best. And he's been knocked out 5 times in his career. You know, he's been sporadically fighting low level, carefully picked. Again, if you don't want the truth, don't watch the show. Don't watch it. Really. And it's not this, it's not that, it's the truth. So he's been fighting carefully picked opponents. For example, if you go back 4 years ago, Ken, he beat Byron Phillips. You know what Phillips' record was at the time? Of course you don't. Because he didn't have one. He was making his pro debut. That's all. It's called bringing your own music. So, you know, so he was on this magical mystery tour fighting. And by the way, when he was fighting those fights, it was cruiserweight. He won 8 straight fights. Put it all out there, right? Let's not hide and play shenanigans, you know, and play that games here. Let's put it all out there. He won 8 straight fights before the matchmaker made a mistake. And he put him in with really an over-the-hill fighter that was a good fighter, a solid fighter. I think he even might have had a title for a minute. But he wasn't obviously over the hill enough. Or over enough hills at the time. And Jones was knocked out. And before he started that, you know, Get Young Again tour, he had been knocked out badly by a former cruiserweight champion, Lebedev, in Russia. And it was a bad knockout.
Very bad.
I don't want to see nobody get hurt. His last fight was 2.5 years ago, not 15 years ago. Let's be fair again, which he won against Scott Sigmund. Sigmund, no relation to Freud, by the way. I think Freud would probably recommend that maybe he doesn't fight at this point in his career. Here's the problem for Jones. When he was a middleweight and a light heavyweight, he was pretty damn special. You know, one of the things that catches my eye that makes him special, Ken, he did everything wrong, or a lot of things wrong. Like only one other fight I can think of, Muhammad Ali. And listen, there's no other Ali. There's no other. So don't get mad at me that I'm comparing the two. But his style, he could do things wrong. He could drop his hands, pull back, do all kinds of things wrong. But because of his ability to be so fast, his timing, his reflexes, his speed, his power. Roy Jones had all of that. It was unbelievable talent. Because of that, he could make wrong right and still get it right. And he beat a lot of damn good fighters. He could make it right. He could make it right. But now, even before he got past that place, that into those shadows, before his timing and speed got eroded by Father Time, he got knocked out by Antonio Tarver and Glencorf Johnson, 2 solid fighters, pretty bad knockouts. And that was when he was still at the, you know, at that place, like he was at his best. And then boom, he got knocked out. 2 in a row. Two in a row.
Devastating knockouts too.
A lot of people could say maybe his reflexes started to go then. Or to give fairness to Tarver, who's one of our great amateur fighters too, besides being a world champ. And Glencorf Johnson was a solid guy who had losses like I talked about. But he learned how to fight. And he fought on ESPN Friday Night Fights while I was calling him on the way up. And he developed and he became a solid guy. Solid guy. That's a good thing, to be solid in anything. You don't have to be neon lights all the time. Solid. And maybe it was, in fairness, maybe it was just because they made him pay for his mistakes. Maybe it wasn't because his reflexes were starting to go. They were good enough, not afraid to throw the punch when the opening was there. Bop! Don't hesitate a little bit. And they took advantage of things that other fighters couldn't take advantage of, weren't able, didn't want to, whatever. But the facts are that now, when you are a guy that depends on reflexes and timing and speed and power, just so to such a high level, what happens is when that goes, there's nothing to back you up. There's no net to catch you, baby. There's no technique to catch you. See, if you learn technique, Ken, you can get older and your technique can still cover for you. A little bit like James Toney. He messed himself up by going up in weight, coming down in weight, But even as an older guy, he could still do things because his technique was there. He was doing things the textbook way. And it helped him. It helped him. Because he didn't depend just on reflexes. But Jones, just reflexes, now that's gone. And the technique's not there, really. He really, maybe he's in his garage working on his technique, and I'm wrong. But throughout his career, it wasn't there to depend on. Tyson, not only the bigger guy naturally, much bigger guy, even at 54, if this thing does get real, the senior tour, the senior tour in golf, at least you don't see the old golfers, working. They're not hitting each other with the golf club. So that, you know what I mean? So that's the trouble with senior tours of boxing. So Here you go. You got the senior tour. I'll say it. I'll be the first to say it. And now you got Tyson, who's got all the advantages, but he's got another one. He had good technique. Yeah, he had speed. Yeah, he had power. Unbelievable power and speed. Maybe the best of all time, to a certain degree. Maybe the mixture, the combination. But he had technique, peekaboo style. But where he make you miss, bop, bop, bop. He had technique, and he still got the technique. That's going to give him, besides everything else, a huge advantage over a guy who never had the technique and now they're older. That's going to give him. That's something that nobody else is. I don't think anyone's talking about. That's going to give him a big advantage. If this is real and they really go at it, to that point, Tyson, Tyson should knock him out. But, for the people out there that still want to say, oh, he's going to box, Roy's going to box. Again, Bonham, come over here, Bonham. What was that saying? A sucker is born every minute. Okay, thanks, Bonham. Thank you.
One thing we forgot to mention.
That's not happening.
Yeah. One thing we forgot to mention about Roy Jones and his past record is that he did win the heavyweight title against Somerville's own Johnny Ruiz, my friend from the Somerville Boxing Club, WBA heavyweight champion of the world.
Hey, that might have hurt him. You're right. Tremendous. You're right. So right, Ken. Thank you for bringing that up. That might have hurt him too, because he went up and gained muscle, and then he came Roy Jones, and then came back down, and then had to fight Tarver, after that. And that's not easy to do. That can be damaging because you're putting muscle on to get heavier, and then you got to take that muscle off. You talk about significant weight from 75 to, I don't know what he fought at, 200, whatever. So, you're talking about putting on at least 25 pounds of muscle somewhere in that neighborhood, and then you got to take it off. You could make an argument Jones was never the same fighter after that. You could make that argument.
Yeah.
And, that might have been something to do with it. Listen, I'll finish with this. Exhibition. If it's an exhibition, I don't think people are paying whatever they're going to be asked to pay, $100, I don't know what, but whatever they're going to be asked to pay, I don't think they're paying that, Ken, to see an exhibition. They don't give a freak. If they're going to pay They don't want to hear. They don't want to close my ears. They don't want to hear about exhibition. I mean, it's like going to a dunk contest in the NBA. You're not going there to see layups, Ken. You want to see dunks.
Yep.
You want to see dunks. Oh, floating through the air, turning sideways. Let me turn. And then coming back. Wow! You want to see aerobatics. You want to see power. You want to see ferocious dunks. You know, you want to, in this case, they want to see Darren Dawkins' Chocolate Thunder. I'm going to bring back an oldie but goodie. Darren Dawkins, I think he played for the Philadelphia 7ers. Tested my memory again. 76ers. Rob would be my man. Rob's my man. I love Rob. And he was back in the 80s, whenever it was, he was the first, I think, to dunk so ferociously that he brought the rim and the backboard down and shattered the fiberglass back. Do you remember that? Yeah. Shattered it. I mean, glass everywhere. I mean, Chocolate Thunder. Then later on, of course, there was Shaquille O'Neal and other guys that did it. But Darren Dawkins, if my memory is right, was the first guy. He was the first guy. And that's what people, if they're going to pay for this, that's my man. That's my man. That's our man. That's our man. There it is. There it is. There it is. I knew he wouldn't disappoint us, Ken. He would be right there with Darren Dawkins. My man, he was ferocious. Oh my goodness. That was history. That was changing things, where you started to do that kind of stuff. And that's what, if anyone's going to pay for this, that's what they want to see. They want to see the rim come down, Ken. They want to see the backboard come down. They want to see glass go all over the damn place. I'm sorry. I know they don't want to see no one hurt. I'm not implying, but they want to see that. That's what they're, and we're here to put it, we're the x-ray machine of podcasts, okay? We're the CAT scan of podcasts. I just thought of that now, that we're going to examine it and we're going to show it to you. And then you see it from all angles, all dimensions for what it is. And at the end of the day, the only thing I'll tell you that you might get, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Tyson has been in exhibitions before. What? I didn't know that. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a story about exhibitions, the reality of exhibitions. When I had Tyson, when he was 13, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, after teaching him in the gym long enough, when I took him out to get experience, there wasn't enough fights up in Catskill, So I started taking him, especially to fight a kid who's 13 years old. And you walk in and say, yeah, he's 13 years old, and he's 210 pounds of muscle. What? Teddy, what? Come on. Talk about selling a bridge. Come on. I mean, well, yeah. So anyway, I took him down to Bronx. It was hard down there too. To my friend who's gone, I miss him, Nelson Cuevas, God bless him. He had the Apollo Boxing Club. And I took him down with all my kids to get experience. And when I first got there with Tyson, 12 years old, 13 years old, 210 pounds, 200 pounds muscle, everyone said, Teddy, stop. Teddy, come. Teddy, please. I said, listen, I'm telling you. You don't want to believe me? Okay, make you feel better. He's 20. Ah, thank you, Teddy. Hey, he's not 20. He's 13. He's 14. He's 13, whatever he was at the time. So I was forced to put him in with older fighters. I had no choice. What am I going to do? And but he was ready. He was good enough. He was special. And he won. So I'd make the 2.5-hour trip down there, Ken. And with all my kids, I want to get fights, experience, because you can't make a fighter, no matter how you teach them. You get to a point where you can't make a fighter without experience. It's time to get experience. It's time. You made the cake. It's time to put it in the oven, baby. You made the cake. You spent a lot of time, You made the cake, and it's time to put it in the oven. Well, it's time to get in the oven. So spent a lot of time teaching Tyson. And now took him down, got him experience. And this particular day, they already knew about him because he made his debut already. And he knocked out an older guy. And so they knew what he was. Oh, there's something different. Something special. Fast, power, something crazy good. So it wasn't easy. I used to pay guys $50. Yeah, we would pay guys. We would. We give the trainer $50, up to him what he does, and we get, sometimes it helped. So here we are. I want to get a fight for Mike. We drove all the way down, all my kids, but Mike was one of them. He was one of my guys, one of my kids. So here we are. I can't get a fight. There's one guy, he's a heavyweight. My memory, we're talking a lot of years, but 18 years old, 17, 18, whatever, 18, 17 years old. And, he probably had more experience than Mike, to be honest. Everyone lied about the amount of experience in those days. So they all wanted to have an edge. So anyway, but I knew what I had, and I got to get a fight. So no, we're not fighting. So I came up with the idea. I think it was me. Somebody did. It's probably me. I said, how about we do an exhibition? Oh, sounds different. An exhibition. We'll put bigger gloves on. Instead of 10 ounce, we put on 16-ounce gloves, and we'll put a headgear on, and we'll do that. And there's silent agreement. This untold agreement was kind of like, if it's an exhibition, it won't be ferocious. You won't be trying to really, it'll be like a sparring session, without even being said. Okay, that's safer. We could do that. I think we still have to give them $50. I think we still have to give them $50, even for the exhibition. I think so. So they were covering themselves, So we go in an exhibition. All right, what happens? Tyson knocks the guy dead in an exhibition. It almost started a riot because the trainer came in the ring. I went after him. Well, what are you doing? He's like walking towards Mike. Hey, you got to protect your guy. No matter what Mike could or couldn't, it doesn't matter. He's a kid. Hey, get out. Get down. You ain't getting near my guy. What are you doing? Well, it was supposed to be an exhibition. Well, it was, and that's what happened. Well, that wasn't right. What are you talking about? And Mike's behind me saying, and he was right. You know what he said?
What's that?
I wasn't trying to do nothing to him. He wasn't trying to do to me. He was right. They were both. Once they got in there, they were fighting.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You could say exhibition all you want, and bigger gloves and all. It doesn't matter. It's not going to save you. What's going to save you or not save you is how good you are, how much power you have, how good you can fight. Tyson was just a better fighter and very, 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 very good puncher. So at the end of the day, it didn't matter unless you're going to really swear on oath that you're not going to really throw anything with bad intentions. But a 14, 13-year-old kid is not going to do that. He's not capable. He doesn't have the control to do that, the belief, the confidence to go in there under those conditions where you're trying to protect yourself and at the same time hold back, especially if the other guy's not doing it either. So, of course, I knew that's what it was going to be. But it makes you feel safer to hear the words exhibition. It makes you feel safe. But the reality, unless these guys have a pact where they're, hey, we're just going to we're not going to punch, we're really not, well, then the people are going to be mad, and then it's going to be an exhibition. But unless that, like I said, I've been to exhibitions with Mike Tyson, and they didn't end well for the other guy in the exhibition.
Yeah.
It was an exhibition of how fast he could freaking hit you on the shin and knock you dead. That was the only exhibition.
Like the old saying goes, you don't play boxing, so there's no room for playing around in there. You're either fighting or you're not.
Well said. Practice.
Hey guys, once again, want to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor, Crossrope. Check them out at crossrope.com/atlas. This thing is awesome. I complement my running and biking routines with a 15 to 30 minute crossrope workout in the evening. Again, if you've tried to buy any gym equipment since this pandemic started, you know that the stuff is either outrageously expensive or completely sold out everywhere. Not to mention a lot of that stuff requires a big time commitment. Crossrope has you covered with 15 to 30-minute workouts. You can choose between a speed rope, a weighted rope, the app. You download the free app. The app will also walk you through some jump rope to strength work, almost like a personal trainer type coaching routine. Again, can't say enough good things about these guys, especially if you're short on time. This thing jams a lot of workout into 15 or 30 minutes. I find it very intense, and if you followed anything we've done on the show, you know that I train quite a bit. Once again, check them out at crossrope.com/atlas, ATLAS, for $40 off your any of the sets plus free shipping. And again, guys, this thing is seriously, this is a product that I use all the time. It's awesome to take with you if you're traveling. I just came back from 2 weeks on the East Coast, and I put it in my bag along with the free app. You can literally get a workout anywhere in a short amount of time. Again, please check them out, crossrope.com/atlas for $40 off your order. Well, listen, before I let you go, in another example of how the UFC is just pulling away and boxing is seemingly taking a step back here, there was a fight that Golden Boy put on, and whoever made this match should probably think of a new profession, but they matched Seniesa Estrada, who looks awesome, against a 40-something-year-old mom named
42,
Miranda,
I believe.
42-year-old mom. In a legit fight, and I don't think, and I mean literally, this mom looked exactly, for those who haven't seen it, it looked like someone's mom in the ring against a legitimate killer of a fighter. I don't think she took 3 or 4 steps. She definitely didn't throw a punch. She barely had her hands up, and she got knocked out cold. One of the worst women's knockouts I've ever seen. Only a couple others come to mind, like Christy, what's the coal miner's daughter, and
Christy Martin
is the only one. Yeah, Christy Martin and Ann Wolfe, I think, had a vicious knockout once. But this was as bad as I've seen. And like I said, whoever made the match at Golden Boy, my God, if you can't find a suitable opponent, you don't just grab someone from the parking lot and stick them in there like feeding a lamb to the wolves, because that's what it looked like. I mean, it was really sad, and there was nothing good about it. I know you've had a chance to look at it. What do you think?
I think what you said. I think that there should be repercussions for people that do things that are that irresponsible. There should be repercussions in life. I've had to pay for things I've done wrong, and continue to. I try to get better, but you're doing something wrong in this case where you're putting somebody's life at risk. Why have a commission? You talked about the matchmaker. You're 100% right, Ken. But let me go further. Let me go to the commission. Why have a commission that taxpayers' money, pays for? Why have a commission that's job is to make sure they sanction competitive fights that are not this? Why have a commission? Why? The California, it was in the desert in Indio, California. Why have a commission? For what? For that? For that? For that? For that? Are you serious? I mean, I think I know I go far. I go out there. I hold people, and people sometimes like it. That some people hate it. Call your assemblyman. If you're a fan out there and you feel the way we feel, call your freaking assemblyman, your congressman. That's what they're there for. And say, can't the commission do a better job? Can't you get somebody that has better eyes, better judgment, better sense, better responsibility? You're going to wait till that happens again? No. You know what? That would be, I made a note to myself when I watched it. Could you imagine in any of these other sports where they have commissions, right? Real commissions. Could you imagine in, say, football, a 42-year-old linebacker who played in 6 sandlot football games? That's about what this mother had. And he's in the NFL game as a 28-year-old Heisman Trophy winner and 5-time Pro Bowler is heading straight towards him. No, you can't imagine that scenario, nor should you. Oh, my God, nor should you. But that's basically what happened here. This mother had 6 fights. She had 6 fights. 42-year-old mother had 6 fights. Talk about finding somebody in the parking lot. That's where they found her opponents. 5 of her opponents, you know what their record was, Ken?
I don't think they had a win.
They didn't have a fight, much less a win. 5 of them didn't have a fight. They probably found them in a parking lot somewhere. You know, well, I'm just saying. They didn't have a fight, okay? The other one had 2 fights. She lost both. So you had one that was 0-2 and 5 of them that had no fights. And they put her in with, again, it's who you're in there with. It's bad enough, but you put them in with a 28-year-old woman, right? 14 years younger, who is 18-0. I say it again. 18-0 and a world champion. No, you didn't say that, Teddy. Wait, Teddy, you didn't just say that. You didn't say they put this 42-year-old mom in there with a world champion. No, you didn't say that. 18-0, 28-year-old. Yes, I did say it. World champion. World champion. Yeah. And this is what happens. You know, I'm very strong with my beliefs. When I think that there's a reason for them to be strong, and I think there's a reason here that this is something that, you know, the other thing that gets me so pissed off, and you can't imagine it happening in any other sport because there's protection, there's apparatus in place, there's mechanism in place, there's a national commission, you know, there's things in place to make sure that such things could never happen, you know, that wind up happening, unfortunately, in this sport. But if it ever did, could you imagine the outcry, Ken? Oh my God! Could you imagine the writers, the magazines, the newspapers, the internet? That's what is the most troublesome thing with this whole thing. Not one writer. You don't hear nothing. I mean, they mention it here, but there's no outrage. There's no where you open up a paper. I know there's not many people, not everyone reads the paper anymore. But even if you go on the internet and you see the outrage that we're expressing, you don't see that. Where is it? These are human beings. We're talking about a human being here. Where is it? Where's the writer out there that's saying, how did this happen? How could you do this? I want answers. I want freaking answers for this 42-year-old mother. How? I mean, that's one of the things that bothers me the most, why I'm so agitated about this and emotional about it, besides that it's a mother. I mean, and everything I just laid out there for you, the circumstances of it. But how the hell do you not have outrage by the media? How? I talked to one writer who's a decent person. I won't mention his name. I talked to one guy. I sent him a text. And I said, and he was aware of it, but not of all the details, I guess. Why not? But he wasn't. And you know what his response was? He's a decent guy. I want to remember the word he used. This is, what's that word? E-G-R, egregious. There it is. Rob Moore, my man. Rob Moore, my man. Okay, egregious. Thank you. Yeah, I cut a couple classes when I was in school. I cut a few classes. But I showed up when I felt like showing up, and I did learn some things. But I missed out the day that they were teaching that word. But that is the word. That is. He sent me back a text, this good man, this writer, and he said, Teddy, that's egregious even for this sport. That's what he sent back to me, Ken. Even for this sport. And he's right. And that's the problem, that this sport nobody even cares about. They don't even think twice. What? What if that was your mother? It's like nobody even thinks. It's like, oh yeah, it's boxing. You know what?
Can you
It's
imagine? Can
wrong.
you imagine if that woman went down the way she went down, her head snapped back, if she got a brain bleed and God forbid died? Could you imagine? Who would be responsible
That's
for
why I'm
putting her in
so.
there? She shouldn't have been in any fight.
Those people need their licenses taken away. Let's cut to the chase. The trainer, bad judgment. When you have a license, a boxing license, right? It's not a right. It's a privilege. It's not a right. Not everyone. Oh, I have a right to have a license. No, you don't. You have to earn it. You have to show you're qualified. You earn your driver's license, right, Ken? With all
Yep.
those Lamborghinis and Ferraris, you better not driving that kind of machinery. You better know how to drive. So you earn the right to have a driver's license. When you show that you don't shouldn't have that right, that you don't know how to drive right, it gets taken away. When you have accidents, you start hurting people. Before it gets worse, they take your license away. You lose that right. Same thing here. The trainer, license suspended. The matchmaker, license suspended. Why, Teddy? Because of what I just said. You showed you don't have good judgment. You don't have the right judgment to have that license. Somebody can get hurt. The commission. They don't have the right anymore to be commissioners. Their judgment is bad. Somebody's got to say it. Somebody's got to do something. And to the credit of this writer, you can see the way he texted me. He said, "I'm going to look into it, and I'm going to hold him to that. I will. I'll watch. See, I'm just going to see what he comes back with. I believe in this guy. I think he's a decent guy. I want to see what he comes back with." But that's what he said. He said, "Oh my God." He said, I'm going to try to contact the woman and talk to her and then, go from there, whatever. But that's the thing that's the most disturbing is that nobody even talks about it. It's like, just another day, just another day. It shouldn't be that way, Ken.
What's crazy is I don't know if it's because it was a woman's fight, but I know in California, specifically at Indio, they refused an opponent for Cancio. They were trying to get Cancio busy again with his new
Yeah, but
promoter,
that's a world
Top Rank.
champion. That's a world champion. There's lights on you. There's a light on you. That's a world champion. You have to have a certain. That's an easy one. That's one where if they don't have a guy that's at least within the neighborhood of proper opponent, let's say, to be in there, they get attacked. So that's an easy one. Yeah, that's a layup, so to speak. But here's one where it's like, and everyone's going to be watching that one. This is one that was like under the radar. Like people say, well, it's a woman's fight, and it doesn't matter as much, and we're not maybe taking it as seriously as we do the Cancio fight with a world champion, a former world champion. Of course, it should be taken as seriously, and there's just no excuse. The people that made that decision, I mean, God, I wouldn't. Gee, it's terrible. I mean, what are they going to do? If they ever ask you if you want to go on a cruise line or something, and the name of the cruise ship is the Titanic, don't go. Ken, don't go. Don't go. I laugh at the end because it's so sad that you got to laugh at the end to not cry. But it's. I think people should do something. I think people should do something. I think you should go. I think you should call your assemblyman, your congressman. I think we should stop just talking about things. These things can be done. If one person ain't doing the job right, you can replace them. You can replace them.
And thank God that Miranda Adkins wasn't seriously hurt. I've seen interviews with her since, and they did get her up, a minute or two after she got knocked out cold. And thank God she's okay. And hopefully we don't have to see something like that again, because the last thing we need is someone getting seriously injured in there who has no business being in there. It's dangerous enough when guys are evenly matched. But Teddy,
Ken, let me finish with this.
Go ahead.
Would you want any of those people to be your doctor? I'm being dead serious now.
The hell no.
Or even your vet. You have a dog, don't you?
Yes.
You love them, don't you? You do care about the dog. Don't tell me you don't like dogs.
I like the dog because it's my kid's dog, but left to my own devices, I would not have a dog. I'm deathly allergic to her. She barks at everyone that comes to the house.
You're very honest. You're honest. But even
Yep.
with that, would you have any of these people beat your vet?
Hell no. That dog's like one of my kids.
Of course. I mean, you wouldn't let them babysit your kids, would you?
Nope.
How about pilot? Would you get on a plane if they were your pilot?
No thanks.
Okay. All right. That's all. That's it. I rest my case. They shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be doing this.
Definitely not. And like I said, the people at Golden Boy, just if you can't find a suitable opponent, just you have to cancel the fight. It's not the end of the world. Better to be safe than sorry. But anyway, Teddy, thanks for doing this today. Really appreciate you. Appreciate the time. Hopefully we get some boxing action to talk about soon here. And if we don't, we know the UFC will be here every week with another killer card.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
All right, Teddy. Well, guys, thanks for the support. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Please do us a favor. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. It only takes a second. Leave us a review on iTunes. It's massively appreciated, and it makes a huge difference for us. So please do that, and thanks again. See you guys next week.